Hello, it's Monday, February 24th, 2020. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the topics we're covering on today's episode of the show. And I gotta say, we've got a lot. Microsoft had made some more announcements today in association with the upcoming release later this year of their Xbox Series X console. We'll give you some of the game-changing stats, and we've got some great guests, including a member of the platinum-selling band Under Oath. Chris Dudley will be on to talk about using tech on the road and the changing landscape of the music industry, and from musicians to actors. We'll be joined by Bahara Golestani from the groundbreaking TV show This Is Us to talk about her remarkable success story from a refugee to a hit TV show. And it's Monday, which means our own Drew Prindle shall return to the show for another edition of awesome tech you can't buy yet, including Medea, a window air conditioner that also functions as a sound-canceling device for outside noise. We've got all this and more on today's episode of Digital Trends Live. Hello, everyone. So much tech to pack in. Hello, this is Digital Trends Live, your daily show here from Digital Trends, bringing you trending tech topics of the day, news, interviews, headlines, discussions, and so much more. All while broadcasting live across a number of different platforms. We're on Periscope, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Dailymotion, Apple News, 2 different mobile apps, the smart television app, and at digitaltrends.com/live. So wherever you're watching, you can join in the conversations that we get to have here today. Let's get it started. I'm Greg Nibbler, here with Adrian Warner. Hello, Adrian.
Hello, Greg. How are you?
I am good. It's Monday.
It is Monday. That's true. That is a fact we cannot deny.
We like to start with the facts and then go from there. All right, let's do this. Let's talk about some trending tech topics, and certainly something today that was announced that was pretty big has to do with the impending Xbox Series X, the new console from Xbox. And this is, of course, coming out later on this year, holiday 2020. The PS5 also scheduled to come out around this time, around that same time. But Xbox boss Phil Spencer posted a blog post today, just kind of going through some of the other statistics and other features that this new console is going to have. One of the big ones being it's going to be backward compatible for up to 4 generations of Xbox. That's the Xbox 360, the Xbox One, and the new one. So you're going to be able to play essentially all of your games.
All the Xbox games ever. And this is something that gamers have been wanting pretty much in every generation of console, you know, whether it's Sony, Nintendo, Xbox, etc.
Yeah.
Something that people have been wanting for a really long time. So this is huge news for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm trying to think about that. You know, I don't know how many Xbox 360 games that I would want to necessarily go back and visit, but I want the option to do it.
That's true.
So that's one
trying to
of the
think
big
of
ones.
a couple. I never owned an Xbox, but I mean,
Yeah.
I knew people that, you know, in that era they did, and
Right.
I just think that there's a lot of titles out there that people really, really want to revisit.
Well, it's one of those things, too, going forward with consoles. You know, once you make an investment into a game, you do not want to have to rebuy it.
Well, the other thing too is, you know, the more technology that gets put into these newer generation consoles, and the more money we're spending on them, the more we expect out of them. So that's really it. Is that we expect that these $100 consoles are going to perform and bring us the entertainment that we want. So I mean, there's a whole stack of other features that are in here, such as like a solid-state drive. It's going to include something that we've been hearing a lot about with these next generation consoles, which is ray tracing. Which is supporting and improving graphics and lighting effects. It's going to support 120 frames per second. Like, this thing is a beast.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, and this is one of those things too, where as we see more and more cloud gaming becoming popular, this could be kind of that last bridge. I mean, it's possible, that last bridge console between the console era and the future of cloud streaming.
It's a very futuristic prediction.
Right, yeah, I mean, it could be. I mean, if you think that these things last for, you know, probably about 5 years is usually what the iteration is, maybe even longer.
Yeah, a little bit longer.
A little longer than that. Yeah, I guess PlayStation 4 was quite a while ago. So so this new Xbox, I mean, this is going to be a big deal when it comes out. But some of those things that you brought up, just to go back into that, you mentioned, you know, solid state drive. That means your games are going to load super fast. Right. That's one of those key things too. If you ever put your game on pause and it just takes forever to load it back up.
Yeah.
It's so annoying. And that is something that they would be solving with some of this, that 120 frames per second, which means the games are going to look amazing. So there's a lot that goes into this, and you know, the design side of things for the Xbox looks like it kind of just looks like a PC, to be honest.
It does. It looks like a tower PC. It's kind of funny, but you know, nothing super, you know, new about that.
Right.
However, I mean, it's not horizontal anymore. That is kind of a change.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that part's a little different, but they definitely didn't seem to go too much for the form factor. It's more about the performance factor, and that's really what they were what they were going towards. So a lot of interesting things that came out of it. You know, we've got a write-up too that we'll have out, just kind of detailing some more of this. But it is, you know, part of. I think one thing that to come out of this that I would like to see is more news from the PlayStation.
Yeah, same. I was just going to say this is probably going to push them to announce a little bit more on their end, which I'm excited about because that's kind of usually what I gravitate towards.
I tend to as well.
Yeah.
I have a PS4, so that's just inherently that's where I'm kind of leaning toward. Although I do want to see some more of this. Now, price, we didn't get that.
Right.
It is expected these are going to be expensive machines. PlayStation 5, there's been rumors talking about the PlayStation that they're having trouble just making it for under $500. So I think if you go over 500, that's a really not a good sign.
Yeah,
but
that's a big chunk of change.
It is.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if both of these though end up being around $500 a piece.
I would not be surprised either. I mean, this thing is going to be 4 times faster than the Xbox One and twice as fast as the Xbox One X. So that is just a huge amount of processing power that we're seeing in this new console.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I mean, it's definitely going to be a fun year towards the end here for video games because there's going to be a lot of, and we still don't even know all the games that are going to be coming out for these, but
well, that's going to be really fun for the gaming developers as well to be like making this next generation of games that is going to be so stunning.
Yeah.
I'm just really excited for it.
Well, you can read more about this and more about the announcement at digitaltrends.com and stay up to date with everything that's going on when it comes to these two consoles and what we're going to be getting with video games coming up later this year.
All right, and moving on into some other news. So as the coronavirus continues to spread internationally, people are coming up with unique ways to go about their lives. And one such group of people are nightclub goers.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So clubbers have been turning to video platforms similar to TikTok. This one comes out of China, and it's called Douyin. And people are virtually participating in raves and calling them cloud raves.
Cloud raves.
Cloud raves.
This is an interesting use of technology.
It really is, yeah.
So if you think about, I mean, in China especially, and naturally, I mean, we can talk about the coronavirus forever. There's a lot that's going on with that in a lot of different places where people are being quarantined or you're being told to stay home. But I mean, people still have lives to lead.
Right.
What are you going to do with all that time on your hands? And now they can't go out to participate in things in group activities or go to clubs. So
music performances, etc. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a huge, business side to it that this affects, obviously, because people cannot go out and necessarily congregate like they would, like movie theaters, for example,
Yeah.
or something that's been really hit hard. So DJs are starting to virtually stream their sets and from music venues, or they're pre-recording them through this Douyin platform, and it's getting a huge amount of viewers. Like almost 2.3 million people turned into one club called Sirteen's Cloud Rave.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, the
It's
name
really
is
fun name.
Sirteen.
But yeah, I think it was about a week ago, with over 100,000 viewers just joining in the first 30 minutes. So this is actually something I think is going to be an interesting trend no matter what. And other artists are starting to put out performances or even rehearsals on this platform, get a lot of generate a lot of buzz as they can't go out and meet their actual fans and viewers.
Yeah, it's something that's, I mean, as a happenstance, because of this, what's going on with coronavirus, it does showcase some of the power of this technology to connect people. Because one of the other things too, people can comment, just like any other kind of normal live stream. This typically wouldn't be something that, this would be something that you'd want to go experience in person. But you can't, so it's the next best thing.
Yeah.
And live streaming's really kind of taking the helm on that. And the other thing is that it's also earning these clubs and some of these artists a lot of money. So you've got advertising dollars, I'm sure, and there's probably different ones that you're paying for. But I mean, they're making money on top of it, which also helps out for a lot of reasons because, as people can't go out places, these businesses are hurting too.
Right, and so are the
Their
artists.
employees are hurting. The artists are hurting. And it's unfortunate for a number of reasons, everything that's going on with this. But this is kind of a cool use of technology, and I want to know if more people would want to participate in that. Maybe we'll start seeing this new era of more and more things being live streamed.
I think it's exciting because, I mean, you want to have a better connection with the artists that you love. And so if you can have kind of like almost like a party within your own home where you're streaming this kind of limited exclusive access from people that you really enjoy, I think that's very special.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I mean, we've got more about this too at Digital Trends that you can take a look at it, but that's also coming from Douyin, and then which is basically like China's TikTok, and then a lot of other social networks getting in, even Alibaba joining in, where they're having no meeting concerts and different kinds of aspects of that. So it's interesting to see how the technology is being used, but you can take a look at that at digitaltrends.com. Let us know what you think. I know we've got to continue on here with our trending news topic, but let's go to TikTok. And here is something that unfortunately is coming to an end, and I'll tell you why here in a second, why this is definitely unfortunate, and that has to do with the TSA. So the United States Transport Security Administration is banning the use of TikTok by its employees all across the board. So you cannot use TikTok anymore if you're a TSA employee. If you remember, we actually had one of TikTok's representatives here on the show a number of months ago who used TikTok, especially around the holidays. Well, I guess she's not going to be able to do that anymore.
Yeah, I know. She was really fun to talk to. Lisa Farbstein, she's the TSA spokesperson, and her video went viral after she was illustrating like a number of foods that you can and can't bring on the plane. And I've seen a lot of success around those videos. But unfortunately, you know, marketing purposes or not, they're just not going to be in the TSA's future.
And here's the statement from Chuck Schumer. So it does have to do with security concerns surrounding TikTok, in particular, surrounding the app. Chuck Schumer said these videos, and he was one of the ones leading this ban, said, "These videos sure do make you chuckle. They're creative, but China might be laughing at these TSA postings for very different reasons. And that should concern us. And it's why I'm urging the TSA to find a different platform and cease its use of TikTok now." So that's kind of where it comes from. And again, this is all... The concerns about TikTok, this isn't new. I mean, we've seen some other government agencies also kind of join in this. The Army, the Marines, the Navy, and the Air Force and Coast Guard have all confirmed they've got, you know, hardline restrictions on using the app, which is one of the most popular apps on social media platforms of at all right now. I mean, they had so many new users added on there over the last year. They were actually our tech of the year this last year, as far as one that made the most impact, and that was from Digital Trends, just because TikTok has blown up so huge. But yeah, these concerns about it being from China, you know, founded or not founded, there's some things that are concerning, but this is going into this just full-on just banning of it.
Yeah, people are really taking a hard-line approach and, you know, being very, very careful. We do know that TikTok is owned by a parent company called ByteDance, which is based out of Beijing. So yeah, you know, we haven't... Chuck Schumer did not put out a list of public, you know, security concerns of what those detail. However, you know, we do understand that this is a precaution that a lot of government agencies are taking. Yeah,
so we'll have to see where else this goes. But the TSA, unfortunately, no more Lisa Farbstein videos, I guess, for now. She'll have to go to Twitter, Facebook. I'm sure there's a lot of other platforms. They shall continue. We believe they shall continue. We believe in you, Lisa. All right, you can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. And we've got another one here talking about another rumor.
Oh, yeah, another day, another Apple rumor. But this time... potentially some over-the-ear AirPods, which is kind of big news. So there's a tech analyst called John Prosser. He had been reached out to by several Target employees who noticed that there was a new listing for a new version of the Apple AirPods, and that there's 3 different SKUs, so possibly different colorways, different color options. And, you know, Apple currently doesn't offer an over-the-ear headphone. They do offer them through their subsidiaries, Beats and Bose, which they sell, but they don't actually produce and create one. So this is interesting to see, especially in light of, you know, coronavirus affecting the output of manufacturing from China.
That's true. Yeah, as far as the manufacturing output of a lot of different things are actually being affected by that. But this one, as far as the rumors, so the Apple AirPods X generation, again, it's a little bit mysterious. It's something that's entered into Target, and we do know, well, we don't know, but there have been a lot of rumors that there would be announcements from Apple perhaps later in March for a couple of different products, and this is one that's been talked about for a long time. It's just the over-the-ear wireless set of headphones. Now, something else, though, with this leak, if you will, or whatever this information is, if it turns out to be true, the pricing was also listed on there as $399, so definitely not cheap when it comes to headphones.
Might as well get an Xbox, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're almost at an Xbox price for that. So $399, and now this does come on the heel too of like I said, some other things, some other announcements that we've been maybe expecting possibly even a new iPad could be coming out, or a revamped one for later on in March. I keep thinking it's March already. It's not quite, but later on.
Right.
But yeah, so the over-the-ear headphones, and that's something that I feel like a lot of people have wanted.
Yeah, a lot of people want it, especially as Apple starts to develop their noise canceling technology with the AirPods, and how popular the AirPods have proven to be. It's kind of time, it feels like, for them to make this over-the-ear headphone jump. It also was rumored that there might be a potentially cheaper version of the AirPods called the AirPods Lite. Now, we don't know that this is 100% true, but yeah, another leak as these things are starting to surface and come out.
Yeah, so something else to kind of take a look at there, and again, another possible rumor when it comes to that, but you can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. And speaking of AirPods, it's now time for the product of the day.
Hey, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret.
There we go.
It's now time for the product of the day.
All right, yes indeed, it is time for the product of the day, and this is where we showcase one thing to you each day that we think you would definitely want to get. And we've been talking about the AirPods, so why not just bring them up right now? And that's what we're showcasing today. These are the Apple AirPods. These are the flagship when it comes to AirPods and when it comes to wireless earbuds. Certainly, over the past couple of years, they have dominated the market. You see them everywhere, but maybe you didn't pick them up yet. Well, now is the time to do it, because with all of these impending possible announcements, the price is really, really good right now. $129 is what we're looking at for these Apple AirPods. I've got them right here. Now, a couple of key features there. They're automatically on. That's one of the great things, is when you do buy these, they're out of the box. You automatically connect them. You can switch back and forth between your different devices really, really easily. It's got that Siri activation on there, so you can certainly just talk to them. I mean, these are pretty iconic when it comes to headphones. I don't think there's ever going to be anything quite as iconic as this, right now anyway. And so it's another thing when it comes to the battery. I just want to make sure that everybody knows this. You can get up to, with the charging case, up to 24 hours of listening time. You can get 5 hours of listening time, 3 hours of talk time, or 15 minutes in the case equals up to 3 hours listening time or 2 hours talk time. So a lot of different things right there when it comes down to it. And these are a lot to feature here when we're talking things, when we're talking about the AirPods, but definitely a key thing is the ease of use. The ease of use. And that's what we're looking at right here when it comes to these. And talking about the Apple AirPods again, take a look at those right there, and you can follow along with those for our product of the day. But on sale right now, so there's a link right there that you can take a look at, and that is what we want you to follow, and that way you can click that right now. So here it is. That is our product of the day. All right. Let's continue on here with Digital Trends Live. And again, thank you everybody for joining us. And we do have a lot coming up. So we do have Mr. Andy Boxall, who's going to be joining us here in just a minute to talk about some of the announcements that were going to be coming out of MWC that didn't happen. MWC did not actually take place, as we all know, but all of those products need to be still announced. And so some of those embargoes have lifted. And so Andy Boxall is going to be joining us here in just a minute. And let's do this. We're going to be going to break here in just a minute, but before we do that, I want to say thank you to Adrienne Warner.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Adrienne, for joining us. Appreciate everybody here who's part of the show. And again, we are live. I want to emphasize that we're live. So we're going to take a break. We're going to come back here in just a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. I appreciate everybody joining us wherever you're watching. Hit that subscribe button. That way you get the notifications when we do go live. And we would have been live at MWC, but it was canceled, as we all know. However, with all of those companies that were going to be showing up there, there's still the product announcements that need to be made. And we're starting to find out about what some of those were now. So joining us today and tomorrow, we have our own Andy Boxall here with us to talk through what some of these announcements are. There's so many different things going on. Andy, which one do you want to start off with first?
So, I will start off with the Huawei Mate XS folding phone, because even if I wasn't in Spain, it doesn't matter. I'd still be so excited about this phone because it does everything that we were promised a folding phone would do like a year or a year and a half ago when these things first started getting talked about. So, I love my Galaxy Fold, but the screen on the front is ridiculous. It's small and it's not really very good to use. The Mate XS solves this because on the outside, it's a full 6.5-inch screen like you would get on any other big smartphone. And then you unfold it so it becomes an 8-inch tablet you carry around like you would a smartphone. And this is transformative. It's not an unfolding tablet like the Galaxy Fold. It's an unfolding smartphone. That means we use the big screen for everything in a normal fashion and only unfold it when we want to use a big screen device. It's really cool.
And so, I mean, seeing them, get this right, or at least from what you're saying, getting it right, what were some of the different hindrances that we had with some of the other ones? And does it seem like it's going to have any of those issues that like the Galaxy Fold had as far as a crease, as far as, how much testing's been done on it?
So this is the second generation, essentially, of Huawei's Mate X folding phone. We saw the first version this time last year. So it's had a year to refine the formula. The Mate X was only launched in China. And the new version has a new processor inside, but crucially, a reworked screen. So they tell me that they've made that more durable on the outside. It has the same layers as before, but the makeup and everything of the inside has changed to make it more scratch resistant and less likely to become a problem when you put it in your pocket or in your bag over time. So hopefully we're going to see fewer, if any, durability problems with this. The crease, that's still there. I mean, it's a folding phone, so there's always going to be something there. But with it open and you facing it, you just don't see the crease. The same with the Galaxy Fold.
So that's pretty good. I mean, I guess one of the things when it comes to the Huawei is just availability, as far as how many people are actually going to be able to get their hands on it with all the other things that are going on with that company. But since they've done this right, could you see some other manufacturers following suit and making theirs, kind of modeling it after this style?
Absolutely. And that's the most exciting thing about what we're seeing with folding phones now is these are the first evolution, first generations. We're just going to see this grow and get better and better over the next year. What we're seeing now is amazing, but it's only going to get better. And these phones that we're seeing now, they're the trailblazers. The Mate XS and the Galaxy Z Flip, which we saw sort of just a week ago. Those two are what we're going to see transform the mobile industry over the next year, maybe two.
The one thing with the Huawei, I know whether it is available to you or not, I know the price is a lot. That seems to be another trend when it comes to these things.
Oh boy, is it a lot. €2,500. That's about $2,700. It's insanely expensive. I mean, for the tech, there's a lot inside. It's a 5G phone. It has 4 camera lenses, tons and tons of stuff, but that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. Well, that's one. So again, this was an announcement that's coming out, in lieu of MWC. Now we're going to be knowing about this, and all this would have been coming out anyway, but just doing it in a different fashion. You mentioned 5G. That's certainly I would expect that to be a really big trend. We saw the Samsung phones, their flagships come out. The S20s are all in 5G. Is that something else that we're seeing from some of these other manufacturers?
Yeah, definitely. It's today would have been the first opening day of the show. And there's been another phone launch today that's another one that's unusual. It's called the Realme X50 Pro 5G. And this is very representative of what we really hope to see at the show. It's a reasonably priced 5G phone. And when I say reasonably priced, it's 600 euros. That's about $650. And it has essentially the same spec as a Galaxy S20. And if you think that the Plus version of that is over $1,000, this is really good value. And we're going to see more of these things come over the next few days as other manufacturers catch up with their MWC as it would be needed.
Wow, the Realme X50 Pro 5G, so $650 basically, and with the same stats as an S20.
Galaxy, the Snapdragon 865 5G, 4 camera lenses, a 90 hertz Samsung AMOLED screen. It's amazing for them.
That sounds awesome. So that's definitely a big announcement. I noted that I know it says in here that you thought that would have been an MWC winner in a category as well.
Without a doubt. The company is really new. They've only been in existence for like 2 years. But the phones that I've used from them already, they've been really impressive, bar the software. But they've changed the software for this phone, and it's way better than it was. So to see this level of advancement and the tech at this price, I think it would have made a big impact actually in Spain.
So that's
There's no reason not now.
From a company called Realme, but then we also have, I know today, Sony announcing their 5G flagship. What can you tell us about that one?
Yes, that's Sony's first ever 5G phone. And it has a strange name. They called it the Xperia 1 2. So that's fine. But it is exciting. It is an evolution of the Xperia 1 from last year. So there's a big concentration on the camera. And what Sony's doing with this is pulling in expertise from its other sections. So like the people who make movies, the people who make audio for Sony Music, they're all working on making this phone even better. So you get a really well calibrated screen. You get amazing camera tech from Sony's camera team in the camera, and audio from, as I said, Sony Music. So it's a very well-rounded, well-crafted phone. We don't know the price or the release yet, but Sony in general, they've been pushing ahead with their tech. So we should see this one as a good evolution from what we saw last year.
Very cool. So that's the Sony Xperia 2, and then I know that we're starting to run low on time, but I just want to make sure that we get some of these in here. Also, I noted that it's got the headphone jack back. That's awesome. Yes. So that's good for some people. And then just as far as another announcement that would have been made, I know tablets are always a part of this as well. Any particular one that stood out?
Definitely, Huawei has made a big splash with the MatePad Pro 5G. And it's kind of squeezing in amazing smartphone tech into a tablet. It has 5G, whether you want that in a tablet or not, it's there, but it has wireless charging. The screen is stunning, 10.8 inches, a 2K resolution. It's beautiful. And it even has a hole punch selfie camera, just like a big screen phone. So it's sort of phone tech inside a really cool tablet with a stylus add-on and a keyboard too. Really, really smart.
Very cool. So definitely some good things that are coming out, and we've got reviews of these that'll go up at Digital Trends and just kind of covering it. And I know you're going to be back here tomorrow to talk about some more things, that would have been announced at MWC, but we are talking about them anyway, no matter what.
Yep.
Well, Andy, thank you very much for joining us here today, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Absolutely. See you then. Thanks, Greg.
All right, so Andy Boxall, again, follow all of his coverage and all of our coverage there at digitaltrends.com for everything that would have been announced at MWC that we're talking about now. But we've got more to talk about. We've got some more interviews coming up. I need to get to a break. We have Janine Yancey, the CEO and founder of M-Train, who's going to be joining us to talk about a study that actually came out talking about workplace dynamics and culture diagnostics. So definitely an interesting conversation to be had around that. That's coming up next. Stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Hello, this is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Appreciate everybody who's joining us here today. It's always great to talk about technology, but all different kinds of aspects of how that can affect our lives. And right now, we're going to talk about workplace culture and more. To do so, we have the CEO and founder of M-Train. We have Janine Yancey. Thanks so much for joining us here.
Oh, thanks for having me, Greg.
Okay, I want to talk about this, and I want to get into this report that you have that came out. But could we give everybody just a little bit of context and explain what M-Train does?
So M-Train is a workplace culture tech company. We provide education and guidance on workplace culture issues such as harassment, bias, ethics, and so on, and as well as guidance and analytics on those issues.
So, and which is such an important thing, when you think about just office culture and just how much it's been changing and how much more people are aware of how important that is, that there needs to be balance and there needs to be equal representation throughout that. And talking about this report that you have that came out, I know it's the Workplace Culture Report 2020. Can we talk about what that is and what some of these findings are that you got out of this?
Certainly, yes. So to start off, we realize that we're all living in a really interesting time, and that we're in the middle of some quickly changing social norms that's making the idea of what is respect, what is harassment, kind of difficult to answer because that changes from person to person. And so what we decided to do was insert some diagnostic questions into our harassment program. And over 4 months last year, 40,000 different people going through the program. We collected 2.5 million employee sentiment responses on what we looked at as kind of core indicators of cultural health. And just some really interesting, findings. Really kind of three interesting findings, I think. So number one, that, as I said, we are in an interesting time where harassment to you is not the same as harassment to me, and it's not the same as harassment to another person. So we just need to be aware of that. And that leads into the next one, which is we can't change what we don't measure. So part of, I think, what we have to do as employers and organizations is start to understand and measure how we all feel about these issues in a really safe way. And then thirdly, we need some kind of a benchmark to understand where we are on these issues.
So something just kind of taking the temperature of the room, really, to understand, where everybody's at on different sides. And maybe my analogy is incorrect. Please correct me if I'm wrong. You're the expert. But then understanding, like you said, understanding kind of like a point that we can all go around. Can you explain that just a little bit more?
Yeah. So, for example, our design is to include workplace video scenes as the starting point, as anchor, and we'll show a scene and we'll ask people how they feel about that scene. And so, for one example, we showed a scene of 3 women talking about a situation that was in the news. About a man taking a woman out, having sexual relations with her, and the woman claiming harassment after the fact. And these 3 women in the workplace were talking about it. And we showed that scene to 40,000 different people and asked them to identify who they thought was causing the conflict and who they thought was disrespectful. And what was really interesting to us is that 50% of these people thought one person was causing the conflict, and 50% thought the other person was causing the conflict. So, things like that, where, we're not all on the same page as to, how we view these actions and what's respectful and what's not. And that's really one of the main kind of drivers of conflict that's going on right now.
Well, and that's such an interesting result from that. It just depends on what your viewpoint is and who thinks, what is offensive or what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. So understanding that everything is so diverse as far as opinions when it comes to that, how do you go about managing and setting expectations for an office to where everybody can be on the same page as far as feeling comfortable?
So excellent question. And so what we're seeing is there's a few indicators that correlate to cultural health, and then conversely to lack of health, right? And so some of the strongest indicators of cultural health will be what we're referring to as social intelligence of your workforce, which includes reading kind of the reading the room, reading the nonverbal clues in the room, as well as empathy, as well as being able to see another person's perspective. And so just a quick kind of stat on that. So in our culture report, we see that 77% of these 40,000 people that weighed in were not confident that their own coworkers could adequately read a room, right? So that was an interesting stat. But then going back to the other indicator of cultural health is how strong are your organizational norms and practices. So, if we start from the premise that we're living or working alongside different generations and people from different cultural backgrounds, so we all have different, perspectives on what's appropriate and what's not. The way to balance that out would be, as an organization, we collectively decide this is what we're going to deem to be an appropriate interaction between people, and this is how we're going to do things here. And so in our culture report, we had actually 125 companies that we were analyzing, and we were able to benchmark the health, the healthy indicators. And the healthiest companies had their employees say that they felt very strongly and comfortable that their employees did have strong social intelligence, combined with really strong organizational norms and practices. And then conversely, the less healthy companies were the opposite.
I think that's a really interesting way to bring it about, to have that happen. So you have all these different individual voices, but everybody kind of coming together in a certain aspects too, to be like, okay, this is how we should run things, and this is kind of how our opinions are, and having that from an organizational structure on the way down. I know there's a lot to analyze right there. This is why you're so good at this. And I know we need to get to a break, but I do want to let everybody know too, just try to understand a little bit more about this report and how important this is. Where can we send people to read more about it, and maybe what would you say would be a first step that somebody could do toward making their workplace more comfortable for everybody around them?
Yeah, so thank you, Greg. So certainly, first step is to look at the report. It's great information. You can find it at our website, emtrain.com, emtran.com, and we'll have the report available there. And then we have some questions for people to ask, to pose in their workforce, and they're addressing what we see as the core indicators of cultural health. And one of the main kind of activities is really facilitating and starting this dialogue so that people start to understand how everyone weighs in on different issues.
Well, Janine, thank you so much for joining us here today to talk about this, such an important issue for all of us to figure out. And clearly, we've all got work to do, but this is a great way to get started down that path to make sure that everybody's comfortable. And I appreciate you being here on Digital Trends Live.
Oh, super. Thanks, Greg.
All right, so really fascinating, right? Take a look at that study. So that workplace culture report, something that we all should be paying attention to, and we all can educate ourselves in a better way and learn more about everybody around us, and kind of learn how to read the room a little bit. So that's great. Read more about that at digitaltrends.com. Let's take a break though. We need to come back because we've got Ronan Glahn, who's going to be joining us to talk about automotive technology, something that's constantly evolving. There's always new information. He's going to bring us up to speed on what is happening there. Stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Hit that subscribe button, share the show, let other people know about it because we like to keep you up to date on what's going on in technology, and certainly the automotive section is a big part of that because it is constantly evolving to keep us up to date. We have Ronan Glahn who's joining us right now. Ronan, thank you for being here. Always great to have you on the show, and certainly electric vehicles are something that we cover a lot here on the show, and I know that we've got some news and some updates to talk about with that, and maybe we should start off with this first one, and I feel like this is constantly something that people are bringing up, and now companies are trying to start to tout their abilities when it comes to the battery size and how far you can go on a charge. That it seems to be always one of the big issues that people bring up, but we might have some more news now associated with Tesla. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, there's kind of a train of thought in the automotive industry right now that says range doesn't matter. So you see electric cars with 160, 170 miles of range. And the truth is range really does matter. And Tesla is kind of the expert on that. So this is not official. It was a hacker that found evidence of this in Tesla's firmware. There might be a bigger battery pack around the corner. It's going to have about 109 kilowatt hours of capacity, and it could push the Model S above the 400-mile threshold, which is pretty impressive.
That's 400 miles. That's a very, that's certainly a lot longer than what we've seen before. How do you think that this would play in as far as other companies? Is this something that you could see this technology being used somewhere else, or is this something that Tesla would be a real leader in by having an over 400-mile battery?
I think Tesla would be the real leader here. And to kind of add context, the Model S right now has a 100 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery pack. That's the biggest available in Tesla. And like the Nissan Leaf has a 40 kilowatt hour pack standard. There's a 62 kilowatt hour pack available. And the upgrade would come at the right time because Tesla is kind of under fire because there's so many competitors out there now. You have the Porsche Taycan, you have the Audi e-tron for the Model X. And so all of a sudden, people who want to buy a luxury electric car don't have to settle for a Tesla or choose a Tesla. So why would they buy a Tesla over a Porsche, for instance? Well, the answer is range, and Tesla is certainly leading the market. There's no reason why Tesla would share its technology with competitors. I think it's going to stay in-house, but we might see it. I mean, if it comes to the Model S, it's going to come on the Model X as well. I can't imagine the Model 3 and the Model Y will get it because it's a big pack in just the size of it. And both of those cars are too small, I think, to sit on that big of a pack. But I could be wrong. That's just my assumption.
When would something like this, I mean, obviously, this is a leak, so it's not officially confirmed, but when would you think something like this could actually come out?
I'm guessing in the next few months, because if it's already in Tesla's firmware, if it's been loaded into the system already, there's a good chance it's around the corner.
So again, that's taking a look there at that Tesla Model S, possibly breaking the 400-mile barrier, which would be huge. I feel like, then you're getting, far beyond the average tank of gas. So you're getting into something you can go, at least I would think anyway, I could be wrong. But that's definitely a big moment if we do get up to that 400-mile barrier. So going from there, I know there's some more Tesla news. Going back to the Tesla Model 3, what is this that just happened?
There's a company in California called Unplugged Performance who has been specializing in making Tesla performance parts since 2013. So they make anything from suspension parts, body kits, stuff like that. And they built a highly modified Model 3 that lapped the Tsukuba track in Japan in about the same time as a McLaren F1, which is, it's granted the McLaren F1 was released in 1992, so it's an older supercar. It's not an apples to apples comparison, but it's really impressive because the criticism I've heard about electric cars is that they can go really quickly in a straight line, but they can't take a corner. And
right.
Unplugged is wrong.
So that's something that's pretty big, and I know that's a lot of times when it comes down to that stuff, I feel like it's kind of a pride thing when it comes to a lot of these companies, because how many people are going to be racing it around a track? But again, I could be wrong on that too. But modifying it for track use, is that something that you could actually see being used in an actual race?
Unplugged already has kind of track days, but what's interesting is that if you look ahead, all of the legacy automakers, if you want to call them that, like Mercedes-Benz, Audi, BMW, even Cadillac, they all have kind of performance sub-brands. You've got AMG, you've got BMW M, Audi Sport. Tesla doesn't have that yet, but Tesla is trying to dethrone the Porsche Taycan at the Nürburgring by making kind of a quicker Model S, high-performance Model S. And I think Unplugged could help Tesla reach that goal. It's it's not far-fetched to imagine a company like Unplugged, maybe not Unplugged, but something like it, become kind of Tesla's performance arm in the coming years, which would be really, I mean, I could see that being a really cool development in the EV world.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's something that I think once they get into that realm too, and then that becomes more of a standard thing, that could really change up a lot of opinions on it, and it's exciting. All right, final thing here. I know we wanted to talk about something else, another partnership that's kind of developed when it comes to entertainment.
Yeah, there's so Polestar is Volvo's kind of spin-off, and it's actually aimed right at Tesla. And Polestar is working with Google on its infotainment system because it's one of the companies that kind of realized Google does tech really well, we do cars really well. Let's stick to what we do. So the Google infotainment system is making its debut in the Polestar 2, which is about the same size as the Model 3. And what you're seeing now is the next evolution of it, which is going to be more contextualized and more personalized. So, you know, if you've got an Android phone, you'll sometimes see suggestions of where to eat, where to go, et cetera, if you're in a new city. This is the same idea. So if you're driving around, say, Portland, and you've never been there before, the infotainment system could suggest where to eat or what to see, where to park, et cetera. And what I think is really cool, too, is the screens will automatically adjust their brightness. So if you're looking at the screen, it's going to get brighter. If it's really dark outside, it's going to get brighter, or it could also dim if there's too much light. So it's kind of it's part of this trend of taking infotainment technology towards the smartphone world, which I think is kind of where the future of the technology is going.
I like this idea of just, like you said, you know, one company does something really good, the other company does something really good. Just team up, just get the best of the best, and then see where that goes, and see what kind of a trend that'll make for everything.
Yeah, and I'm surprised. I mean, Android is pretty far advanced, and the Polestar system actually has built-in Google Assistant, which is really cool. I'm surprised Apple hasn't jumped in on this yet. There's no, I mean, you've got Apple CarPlay, obviously, but there's no Apple-designed infotainment system on the market yet.
Well, Ronan, I want to say thank you so much for joining us here to talk about this. Always great to stay up to date on what's going on in the world of automotive technology. I know we got to get to a break. Ronan, thank you, as always.
Thank you.
And stay up to date at digitaltrends.com. And we've got something coming up next. So we've got Chris Dudley, the keyboardist of Under Oath. Yes, Under Oath, the platinum-selling band. He's going to be here on the show to talk about music, the music industry, and just talk about tech and how it's influencing everything. I'm really excited for this conversation. Stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and thank you for joining us. Wherever you find us, hit that subscribe button to share the show. And we love to talk about technology in all different facets. And right now, we're going to talk about the music industry and technology. To do so, our next guest is a multi-instrumental musician. He's a film composer, and you probably know him as the keyboardist for Under Oath, Chris Dudley. Chris, thanks so much for joining us here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
I love talking about music. I love talking about tech, so this is kind of a great topic for me. But looking from your standpoint, you know, being a touring musician, being a successful musician, all these nominations for Grammys and different things like that. When it comes to technology, just I guess to start off, how does it affect what you do for your job?
I would say it affects every facet of what it is that I do, especially within the past, I'd say 5 to 10 years. There's things that I'm able to do on my laptop from the road that 10 years ago I couldn't even do in a studio environment. The technology in the music space has gone just as quick as everywhere else. The amount of instruments, the amount of things that you're able to do virtually now is honestly just incredible.
And that increase in technology and I guess democratization of access to some of that technology, it seems like that could be both a good thing and a bad thing, depending on how you look at it when it comes to the creativity of the individual artists. But that's definitely been something that's a rise. We've seen people who are now able to create their own albums out of a bedroom or on the road like you're doing. And I want to talk about that, but just, I guess maybe to get your perspective from being a musician through kind of both sides of this, from before and with access to this tech, how do you feel it's affected the industry? And do you think it's a good thing that we're seeing all of these, I guess, to call it, bedroom artists coming out?
Yeah, I think it's 100% a good thing because I think that with more access to the technology and more access for basically anybody's able to make an album now, you're going to see a lot more music overall. And with that, there's going to be a lot more bad music, but you're also going to get artists that would have never been able to have a voice in the first place because they didn't have access to a label or anything like that. They're going to be able to have their talent shown. And that's just amazing. Like, I love just hearing about some new random bedroom producer, if you want to call it that, from the middle of nowhere that does something amazing, and it comes across my desk and I'm just like, holy cow, like if this were 10 years ago I would have never even heard this before. So I think overall it's a really good thing.
You mentioned using tech on the road, that there's some things that you're able to do now that you never were able to do before. And being on the road, you don't have access to a studio, I'm sure. I mean, it's constantly going and traveling. How can you use tech for what you do to be able to have access to your creativity and access to what you want to make on the road using technology?
Yeah, I actually have a mobile studio rig that I bring with me, but it's a very slimmed down rig. I have a admittedly high end laptop. I have a lot of amazing virtual instruments that are sampled real instruments. So if I'm scoring a film, I have virtual violins, virtual percussion, virtual. Woodwinds, all of these things that you would never have been able to get that level of clarity 5 to 10 years ago. But then also you have, just video conferencing technology to be able to keep in contact with people while you're working on a project. You have cloud collaboration tools where I can be working with a composer in LA on a piece at the same time from the back of our bus. And, when you put all of these things together, it makes it to where you're able to create exactly what you want, anytime you want, anywhere you want. And it's honestly amazing.
And I think that's really incredible. A couple of things that you just brought up there. I mean, I want to talk about, I guess, the mobile studio aspect that you're able to do that. So, and that's something, in case people don't know, you compose scores for films. And that's one of the things that you're doing on the roads. Can you walk through what that process is like? Say you're on a tour bus and you can maybe sit there and actually start to work on this. What is the process like for that?
Yeah, the process is, it's different depending on where we are. A lot of times we'll get to a venue and I'm basically on the lookout for a room that I can commandeer that day backstage, whether it's a green room or something. I have a MIDI controller, I have my laptop, I have a couple interfaces, some microphones, all things that can fit into one relatively small case, but I bring it into the venue every day and I set up and I get to work, because a lot of what being on tour is hurry up and waiting. There's people setting up the show all day, and I'm just kind of trying to find something to do. So rather than just sitting around, I figure I might as well get some work done. And with the technology that's out now, it's easier than ever, and it's amazing.
Yeah, you mentioned cloud collaboration, and I kind of wanted to ask you too, just about virtual reality, how you incorporate that into what you're doing.
Yeah, so the VR stuff, it's obviously a cutting edge technology, and it's just now getting to a point where it's mainstream. And I use it when I'm on the road a lot, but not necessarily for creative purposes. I actually have an Oculus Quest that I bring with me, and then I have another one that I keep at home. And the great thing about that is my kids can be in that, and I can be sitting on the back of the bus, going down the road, and I have my headset on, and my daughters can be at home and we can be sitting across from each other in a virtual environment, like playing a board game or just talking to each other, listening to music, all these different things. And that has been a thing that has made being away from home not as big of a deal as it used to be. Honestly, it just makes it that much more feel like that I'm able to have that relationship with people at home. And I think that on the creative end of it, what really excites me is the idea of being able to at some point bring people into the creative experience, whether that's actually being on stage or being in a studio environment, because VR is able to transport you in a way that no other technology is. And I think that the music industry is just on the cusp of figuring out what that's looking like.
I was going to say that, I mean, that's great on the connectivity too, that you can have with your family on the road. I'm sure that's, a lot of nights away. That would, I'm sure, mitigate some of those issues, at least, to have that kind of connection. But also connecting to the fans, I kind of want to just explore that just really quick, just to get your thoughts on that. Like with the virtual reality idea of bringing fans into that experience, what kinds of things would you want them to maybe be able to be a part of?
So I think there's different companies that are exploring the idea of watching a concert in virtual reality, standing in a virtual crowd and watching a concert. And I think that that's a fun experience. But what I think that VR can do is really give you an experience that you can't get elsewhere. And what I think is really interesting is the idea of having VR cameras set up on stage. So if I want to watch a concert, but I just want to sit next to the drummer and just watch what it is that he's doing, I can do that. Or, if I want to move to the other side of the stage and there's the guitar player, I want to see what he does on this part, I can just sit there and watch him. But you're in this virtual environment, so you feel like you're actually sitting on stage. And I want to see more VR implementation in the creative space. Personally, I would love to be able to virtually be in the recording studio while my favorite band is making a record, and just be able to sit there and be in that process, even if it's something that was recorded that I am getting to view later. I think that is a super compelling thing, and something that I would pay a premium price for personally, if I can think about my favorite band and just being able to have hours and hours of VR footage and I can just sit there and watch how these songs came together. That's extremely compelling to me.
Oh, that'd be incredible. Yeah, I would definitely pay a premium for that as well, to see something like that.
Yes.
I know that we're running low on time, but I know right behind you there's been a record on the wall this entire time. Can you tell us what record that is on the wall behind you?
Oh, this one over here is
right.
one.
Oh yeah. What's that one?
That one is one of our records called Define the Great Line. I'm super proud of it. Came out a while ago and it went gold, which is crazy because, that's not, it's a hard thing to do. So.
Right.
And there another one over here, which is, that's also crazy. Yeah. I don't know. It's wild, man. Being able to do music as a career is just something that I never thought I'd be able to do. So the fact that I can do it at all is
right.
Crazy.
And you've got a gold record sitting there behind you. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's weird.
Well, speaking of Under Oath, I do want to ask too. I'd be remiss if I didn't. Coming off of these 2 years that you've been touring for the new album, what's on the horizon? What's next? What can fans expect?
So we're doing a summer tour this summer. We're going out with Slipknot and A Day to Remember. We're going to be doing a whole East Coast run with them. We've got another tour in the works directly after that. And we're also starting work on a new album. I don't know a timeline for that because we're still kind of in the beginning stages of that, but we're working on it. So we're super excited.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining us here to talk about this. It's just always fun talking about tech, music, and clearly having you on here. Congratulations to you on just
awesome. Thank you.
On having this career. Like you said, it's surreal. Like you get to play music for a living and go do this. That's awesome.
It's crazy. Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. Hope to talk to you again sometime soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, so there we go, talking to Chris from Under Oath. I mean, how awesome is that? And just talking about technology and music and how tech really does affect everything, but just interesting how he's using it on the road to both compose, but also stay in touch with everybody and collaborations. It's all kinds of fun. I know we need to get to another break. We're running behind. We're going to do that right now. We'll come back. We've got some more news for you. Stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Hello there. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Appreciate everybody who joins us for this show here every single day. We've got some more great interviews coming up. I do want to let you know that Drew Prindle will be here for another awesome tech you can't buy yet. We also have from NBC's This Is Us. We've got Bahara Golestani who's going to be joining us. So she's going to be joining us here in just a little bit for the show. So a lot to talk about. But let's go to talk about some news right now. So we've got some things to bring up for you. This is some trending stories here from digitaltrends.com. The first one is this. It has to do with artificial intelligence being utilized to create a new antibiotic. So, right, that's a pretty big deal. So let's talk about this. So this is from some researchers at MIT who've developed a new antibiotic compound that can kill some very antibiotic-resistant strains of bacteria. That's one of the big things, right? Bacteria will also grow and evolve and be able to fight these antibiotics that we come up with. So it's very important to be able to battle that. And in order to do it right now, it takes a lot of time to develop these things. And there's a lot of honestly, a lot of hits and misses that come with that, because to figure out what it is that's going to accurately battle something, you really need a lot of information at your hands. And using AI to synthesize this could save a tremendous amount of time. Because right now, if you have researchers that have to do this, it's so many hours. An AI could be able to do this in a much shorter amount of time and create something that's more effective. And that's one of the keys. So researchers trained a computer model on 2,500 existing molecules and then tested it on a library of 6,000 compounds to identify molecules that could kill E. coli. So that's what they kind of went after first. E. coli can encompass a number of different bacteria, but E. coli as a strain itself, this is what they went after. And they were able to be remarkably successful with that. E. coli is something that affects so many of us. So many different things around the world are affected by E. coli, just from lack of sustainable water or lack of or sustainable infrastructure where E. coli can thrive and grow and really can affect a lot of people. So this is something that they've been trying to figure out. And again, it's using machine learning algorithms. And AI is something that we're constantly figuring out different ways that it can be utilized, but really handling massive amounts of data with something like that, where you're trying to figure out a way to combat bacteria, is a great use of AI. So this is coming from MIT. So this one that they were able to develop, this new antibiotic, I mean, we'll see when it actually does get utilized, but it's just a showcase of where we're going with this. And this is going to be something that's rapidly evolving as we see tech change, where we're going to see more and more use cases of something like this. But AI in the medical field is huge, and creating an antibiotic is definitely a big advantage. We've got more details. You can read about that at digitaltrends.com. All right, continuing on here with our trending news. Let's continue talking. And we are live. I want to remind everybody of that. So let's talk about this. This is a new mission to Mars. And this is actually one that Japan confirmed that they're going into the production phase for. So we know that there's a lot of different missions that are going on to Mars right now. We've got the Mars rover that's going to be sent out there. We've got different ways that we're going to be actually monitoring from the outside. We know there's eventually going to be things where we're going to send people to Mars. But that's a little ways out. This, though, would be the first one to do something else, and that is to send back a sample of one of Mars' moons. Send a sample back here. So far, with all this talk about Mars, we haven't actually sent something back, something physical back to us, and this is what this would do. So this is we actually exploring Phobos, which is one of Mars's moons. So there's several moons that they have, but Deimos and Phobos are the two that it's going to be going to, and this would potentially launch in 2024. And this Martian Moon Exploration, MMX mission, would be doing that. It would actually encircle these moons for about 3 years, is what the kind of plan was, and then go down and actually take a sample and then bring that back. So that's huge. That's a huge thing. Now, the sample wouldn't be much. They'd said that it would probably be about 10 centimeters of soil from one of these moons, but there's a lot that you can discover with that, and that's a lot of understanding what the history of Mars is. Are there moons something that are the moons for Mars something that was actually blasted off from another collision? Was it something that Mars pulled in? You can tell a lot about the history of Mars just on that. So it's a big scientific mission. When it comes to actually the technological achievements that are needed to do that, it's pretty tremendous. And so again, this would actually be launching 2024, 2025, but it's officially gone forward into the production phase, which means it's not just being speculated anymore. They're actually going to be working on doing the planning and getting this thing launched, which means it's going to happen. And it's a pretty cool achievement. You also have some other possible plans here for the Mars rover, where that would be coming from NASA, where they want to send back a sample of Mars itself, and all of this is just kind of leading toward that understanding more of what Mars is about and as we send people there, it's good to know what the history is and also understanding how much value you can get out of something like that. So pretty huge technological achievement. I just want to bring a light to that. We've got more details at digitaltrends.com. And finally, here, we just wanted to say something here for this last story. We talk about space exploration a lot on the show, and it was acknowledged today by NASA of the passing of Katherine Johnson. Now, if you don't know who Katherine Johnson is, you should. I'm going to tell you why. Well, number one, if you've seen the movie Hidden Figures, then you know a lot more about her. This is the movie that came out in 2016 that kind of followed some actually black female aerospace workers at a time when discrimination was rampant and they faced tremendous obstacles in order to just do their job. And this is what her job was she was a computer. Now, this is before, clearly, we have the computers that we think of now. This is actually somebody who computed data. And you had to be extremely mathematically gifted in order to do this. And what she did, she was part of a team that actually calculated rocket trajectories and Earth orbits by hand. So this is when we're sending people up into space, sending these rockets up into space by hand. They were doing these calculations, not something where you have just a massive computer that can handle it. That's what she did. And she did it all despite all of those other outside obstacles that were pressuring her to not allow her to do her job. She still managed to do that and was a part of some incredible missions. The Mercury mission, John Glenn, actually the astronaut who was going to be the first orbit around the Earth, he specifically requested her. He said he would not do it until she calculated the data to make sure that it was safe and correct. And incredible achievement. She did pass away. According to this announcement from NASA, she was 101 years old, so she did make it quite a ways on that. But I mean, I just want to say that that's somebody that you have to look at and you just have to thank somebody like that for what incredible accomplishments they had to get us where we are. So when we talk about some of these other crazy missions going out into space, this is where it started, to where one person was calculating actual mathematical data in order to get somebody up there. So pretty incredible achievement, and a big thank you to Katherine Johnson for that. All right, we need to get to a break because we have more coming up here, and I know we've got a lot that we talk about on this show coming up from This Is Us. Yes, This Is Us on NBC. Yeah, we've got Bahara Golestani who's going to be joining us to talk about her incredible journey to being on this amazing hit show, and a lot to talk about, so stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you for joining us wherever you find us. We appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button, share the show, because we get to have some amazing conversations as part of this show every day, and that's what we're going to have right now. You have most likely seen our next guest on This Is Us, in addition to the myriad of other projects that she is on. But joining us right now, we have Bahara Golestani. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing great. Your story is just so unique and so fascinating of your background, of where you came from and how you got to here. And I want to go into that for a bit. But before we do that, what's it like being on This Is Us?
Well, it's absolutely thrilling because I've not only just been such a huge fan of the show, but I have tremendous respect for the writers, directors, and creators of the show. And I think it's just such an important show for our generation right now, the topics it touches on, and to be such a big fan from the beginning and watch the show and now be a part of it. Um, it's fantastic.
I was going to
There's
say,
no better.
yeah, I mean, and like you said, I mean, it does cover so many important issues, and that's why it's become such a phenomenon that it is. I mean, from the writing to everything that it touches on to the incredible cast. For you, just asking you on a personal level, what was it like when you found out that you got this role on there?
I was actually sitting in a restaurant and I called my mom immediately. I got very emotional because more than 99% of the time, Middle Eastern actors, MENA actors, are represented on TV as stereotypical characters. And to play such an empowering character, a woman, a female character who's a doctor, who's essentially a hero, who's an ally for the US military, basically trying to fight the bad guy. And she's also a mother. She's such an empowering female character. And Afghanistan has been stereotyped for so many years. My home country has been, we are in news headlines since 9/11 for things that are just so excruciatingly hard to watch. I'm Afghan. I grew up in Russia. I moved here, and my whole entire life I had to put up with the stereotypical ideas of where I was from. So to play such a strong female character on TV who is so far from the stereotypical ideas is extremely empowering.
And that's, you're so right on that. Just there are so many stereotypes that come out of that, and that's just the case of so many different issues. And when it comes to Afghanistan, you having clearly this personal connection, I mean, being from Afghanistan, now getting to play this person in this character, what kinds of things from your personal life are you able to bring into this character?
Absolutely. I think my deep level of understanding of the circumstances in our country due to the Taliban invasion, due to everything that's happening, escaping war myself when I was only 4 years old, having vivid memories of my parents and what they went through. I think for a very long time, I didn't understand what my family went through. And I think as I got older, to understand that you have to leave everything behind and come to a country where you're not even accepted, that you're categorized as a terrorist. I didn't understand until I was older what my parents went through. And so I feel like the understanding of my country, my heritage, my language, the rich cultures that Afghanistan has, and then also my mother being such a strong Afghan woman, I think that definitely had empowered me a lot. And I was able to bring in a lot of those colors into this character.
Looking at it from, from the standpoint of now that you get to be this representation, you're this person out there, and you're showcasing for other people out there to maybe, that they can look to and be inspired by you. What are some of the different things that you're doing to try to, I guess, continue that growth and continue that spread and bring other people up?
Absolutely. I think the first thing that we need to do, and the first thing that's the most important, is having these conversations. I think these conversations leads to understanding. And for people who are watching this interview right now, I think me sharing, communicating stories, and then also talking about MENA, Middle Eastern, North African. In 2017, MENA became the first casting category in Hollywood in 37 years. We were not even represented in Hollywood. We didn't even have a box to check. Wow. There was Asian, Middle Eastern. We didn't even have a Middle Eastern box. So now we do. Since 2007, with SAG-AFTRA, we have the MENA organization, which represents me, actors from Middle East and North Africa. So that's extremely important. And these conversations and continuously talking about the fact that only 1% of series regulars on TV are of MENA descent, only 1%. So I think conversation is very important.
I think that's huge. I mean, just that conversation right there, I was unaware that wasn't even, that wasn't something that you could select. And that's part of, sharing this information to everybody. I want to ask too, we do talk about technology here, and I feel like tech can be used to bridge a lot of gaps and, and increase connectivity. What are some of the different kinds of technology or platforms that you find most effective when communicating to people that you want to talk to?
Absolutely. I think social media has such a big impact on people nowadays. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sharing my message on social media, and I'm able to reach somebody in Afghanistan, I'm able to reach somebody in other countries, all around the world with my work, with my message, with my interviews. I think that will bring a lot of awareness to everything that we are trying to do.
Looking at it, you're on set a lot, you're constantly probably on the go, and I know how it works on some of those sets, you have a lot of downtime sometimes, where, if you have your phone, I just want to ask something just a little bit different. For your phone, for your use of tech, what is the one app that you could not live without on your phone?
Well, I definitely love to Skype my family. I have family all around the world due to us leaving Afghanistan. I have family in Europe, I have family in some parts of the Middle East, and then all around America. So definitely Skyping my family and staying in touch with them. The fact that I can just video call them and they can pick up and I can see them and I can see my grandmother in Toronto, it's just makes me so happy. So that I think is very important to me.
Yeah, that way that you can connect like that, versus what, even like 5 years ago, even having that kind of connectivity wasn't available. So that's just so cool. Something else I just wanted to ask here too is I know, you were just named to this, I want to make sure I get the name right, 12 artists who changed the world in 2019, a list from the BBC. That's an incredible achievement on its own. What did it mean to you to be selected to that list?
Thank you so much. Again, it's not so much about me. I'm very flattered, and it's very exciting. And I got emotional reading the article. But it's really not about me. At the end of the day, the way I look at it, if I can, through my work and through my message and everything I'm doing, if I can give voice to the voiceless, that I feel like I've done my job. So when that article came out, to have a girl from Afghanistan be featured as one of the 12 people who changed the world in 2019 was exhilarating. It was absolutely amazing. I never thought that would be possible when I was a child. I used to watch TV and think, okay, well, maybe I want to be an actor, but I never saw anyone that looked like me on TV ever. So I thought to myself, well, maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe I'm not special enough to be on TV, because the women that I admired looked nothing like me. And so it was really hard to find someone who looked like me on TV. And now to be able to read that article and be a part of a #1 show life is full of surprises. And I think if you just work hard and believe in yourself, I think anything's possible.
Well, now you're one of those people changing that. You're changing that for MENA actors. You are at the forefront of that. And so that's just incredible. So congratulations on everything that you've done.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
I do have to ask one This Is Us question. Any hints on what we can look forward to coming up?
Well, in the fashion of This Is Us, just when you think you have things figured out and you know what's going to happen and the plot and the twists, there's always a lot in store, a lot of surprises. So I think we'll definitely be seeing a lot of that. So just keep watching.
Fair enough. I knew I couldn't get too much there. Well, Bahar, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for joining us here on the show. Just a really fantastic conversation. And for people, I want to let them know too where to follow you and follow your journey. What's the best place that we can send people?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. My Instagram, I'm always on my Instagram. Like, I post stuff and I stay in touch with my fans and friends and family. It's just Bahara Golestani.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on Digital Trends Live. Really appreciate it. And congratulations on the success, and looking forward to seeing what's next.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, really interesting conversation, right? How cool is that? So that's Bahara Golestani. Again, follow her on Instagram. This is us. Really cool. It's part of the fun conversations we get to have here on Digital Trends Live, and really bringing things to light for all of us. So I learned a lot right there just in that interview. So let's do this, though. We need to take a break. We need to come back. We've got Drew Priddle who's going to join us for another edition of Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet. So that is coming up. Stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Hello, this is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and I appreciate everybody who's joining us. And it's Monday, which means it's time for another edition of Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet. And to do so, we, of course, have Mr. Drew Prindle here joining us. Drew, hello.
How's it going, Greg?
Doing well. Always look forward to this. I don't know what the products are going to be. We find out about them together.
Totally.
Well, I find out about them. We, meaning me and the audience. So what do we want to talk about here first?
Let's start off with the marble track thing. This is like what's it called again? I think it's
let me
I've
see
already
here.
forgotten the name.
Is this this one? Is this what we're talking
Yes,
about
that's
here?
the one.
The Make Way.
Make
The
Way.
Make Way. Let's
So
talk about Make Way.
Do you remember those little marble track toys that you had as a kid? The
Yeah.
ones where you could like reconfigure it and it'd go down like a funnel and
Yep.
like little tracks and you could just reconfigure it however you want to make a little
Yeah,
maze
you got
for the
little
marble.
spinny things. You got like little ramps. Yeah.
Exactly. This is that, but designed for adults. And it's it's amazing. It's made from like a whole system of modular little like 3D printable parts. So not only can you buy like, pre-made ones, you can 3D print your own and they work with this. But the idea is it's that same like marble track thing, but it's magnetic. So first of all, it doesn't take up any floor space. You can do it on like your fridge
that's
or
cool.
a whiteboard or anything like that. And yeah, it's just infinitely reconfigurable. Some of them are, they have like little motors that go in them. So there's a corkscrew one at the end so that you can, once they get to the end of the track, it just automatically like takes them back up to the top.
Yeah.
It just seems like such a fun little system to screw around and, not do work. Like, look at these guys.
Yeah. No, they're totally not doing work. I mean, actually, it's actually one of those things where it kind of surprises me that this didn't make a comeback already.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Like, this is totally, it fits that like whole like fidget spinner vibe. Like, this is just one of those things to like fill some like idle time with like lightweight creativity. It just seems really, really fun.
And this is, so again, it's called the Make Way.
Yeah.
Magnetic, modular, mesmerizing. Okay, that's what the three things are on there. It's got, let's see, some different pledges on it. It's definitely backed. So it's a $10,000 goal. They are at $425,000.
Doesn't surprise me.
There's a lot of people that don't want to work out there. So that's, wait, seriously though, it looks fun. It looks like it's a lot of fun. I think, if this making a comeback, I think like Lincoln Logs clearly would be next up.
How are they going to remake Lincoln Logs?
I don't know. Somehow it's got to make a comeback, right? I mean, call it something else. I don't know.
Magnetic Lincoln Logs.
Yeah, there we go. Now we're thinking.
Completely pointless.
Just
but
gave
yeah.
somebody an idea. Oh, totally pointless. All right, well, there is Make Way again. This is awesome tech you can't buy yet, so that one is definitely funded. It still has 51 days left, but you can still go there and back that project and get in on that.
Yes, indeed.
All right, continuing on. What is the next one that you want to bring
Let's talk about this modular robot thingy.
The ClickBot?
The ClickBot.
ClickBot.
Robots, little DIY robots, robot kits, and robots that teach you how to code are like, they're like a subgenre of Kickstarter at this point. Like,
Yeah, that's
there
a
are
whole
so
thing.
many different takes on this idea. They come in just about every shape, size, and configuration, but this one is particularly cool. The idea is it's a series of modules that you don't have to like wire together in any way. You can just snap and click them together, and they all have like motors built into them and sensors and all of this stuff. So you can make them in any shape or configuration. Yeah, you can make them into a little car. You can make them into an arm robot like Jarvis from Iron Man, and with just like a easy little drag and drop coding interface on your phone, you can program it to do pretty much anything that you want.
Now I actually saw part of this on TBD, one of our segments here at Digital Trends on last Friday, where they showcase this, because this is neat, and I like the idea, that kids are learning. It also makes a lot of nightmare fuel. There is one where they make it into a snake on that thing, which should be illegal, I think.
I think I saw that,
Something needs to be passed as a law that you cannot make robot snakes.
Can't make snake robots.
Yeah, that should actually be, I think, punishable. But that's one of the things, though, that they have on that. I mean, I do, the idea that kids are learning how to put stuff together. That's
cool. The thing I like about this one is, unlike a lot of the teach your kids how to code robots and kits, this one doesn't rely as much on screens. Like, you can teach it like logic, and lots of stuff is already built into it. It teaches you the fundamentals of logic and like logic and computer coding without a screen in front of your face the whole time.
Right. What does the eye do on there? Why does it need that eye?
I'm not sure, but it is animated really well.
Yeah.
I gotta say, like, it's very emotive.
Yeah, I don't know. It makes me a little bit nervous that kids are going to have access to that, but nonetheless, it is a good idea. It's a good idea.
Just breeding a generation of future supervillains.
Yes, exactly.
With little
That's 100%.
robotic
We're just
assistants.
training them young how to make their snake robots. All right, but that one was $25,000 goal. It is now pledged to $459,000. So again, a very
Damn.
successful one right there. Still 30 days left to go on that. And that part, as far as kids learning to code, that's pretty cool. So there we go. That is the ClickBot as part of awesome tech you can't buy yet. And let's get to this last one here. This Media.
Yeah,
How do
I
you say
wasn't
that?
sure if it was Medea or Medea.
I'm not
I
sure
didn't want
either.
to say Medea because that's too close to Tyler Perry movies.
Right,
you
yeah.
know, and that would just be confusing. Maybe
would
that
be.
was just a bad choice on their end.
It could be one or the other. Yeah, I wasn't sure how that worked either. But what is this thing?
This is the AC unit that I think everybody wishes they had. Like, have you ever had to install a window AC
Oh,
unit?
yeah, it sucks.
Oh my God!
And
Like,
you're
why
constantly in
has
fear that you're going to crush somebody.
yeah,
Whoa.
like why has nobody ever thought to like redesign that?
Yeah.
Like, obviously there are like, ones pre-installed for you and you
Mm-hmm.
can get like a floor unit and all this stuff, but this is basically just a way better take on the traditional window AC unit. So first and foremost, it has legs in it that swing out and pin it against the building so that you don't
Okay.
have to build a crappy little shelf platform
Good.
with a piece of plywood.
Seriously, building the shelf part is the
It's
the
a
most stressful
nightmare.
thing
You have to
ever.
hang out of the window and
Yeah.
like, get underneath it. It's super dangerous. So this mitigates that with the little feet. And then also, it's kind of like U-shaped, so it's got like a crease in the middle of it or whatever. So you can actually close the window between the two sides of the
Perfect.
AC unit, which means that you don't have like a gaping hole on
Yeah.
one side that you have to patch with a bunch of cardboard and duct tape
Right.
like you normally
I
do.
have done
right?
the cardboard and duct tape before.
Yeah,
Because
so-
there's no other way to do it.
I mean, I guess you will still have to like patch a hole on some level, but it's going to be way smaller than the hole that's usually left by just like, sticking an entire AC unit in there.
Okay, well this just seems smart.
Yeah.
So
and it's got all those smart features that you expect from a modern AC unit. So it's got like an
Connects to your
app, and
phone.
it can connect to your Alexa. It can connect to your like Nest thermostat and all that stuff. So you can tell it like, hey, I'm coming home. I want it to be this temperature, and it'll automatically start like, cooling the room down for you.
I kind of want this thing. So this is another one where it was a $20,000 flexible goal. It is now funded to $402,000. So it is definitely funded. 24 days left on that. But yeah, this just seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's
Like why has no one done this before?
I feel like a lot of people have like reinvented the AC unit before as well. Like there was a movement a couple years ago to make ACs like smart and give them all of those features that I was talking about earlier, where they can integrate with other smart devices and do all that stuff. So that happened, but nobody thought to actually physically redesign it to make it fit in your window better, which
Yeah.
is why I think this is so brilliant.
Stop threatening to crush people with these things if you don't set up that platform right. All right, this is good. This is a good use of technology right there. Well, again, it's awesome tech you can't buy yet, and of course we have an entire section for this at digitaltrends.com.
Yes, we do.
So people can go there and take a look. Drew, thank you very much.
Always a pleasure being here, man.
Always there, so finding out about some of those things. But let's talk about what's coming up tomorrow on Digital Trends Live. So here's the deal. We're going to have Andy Boxall back. So Andy was on today talking about some of those embargoed products from MWC that would have been announced today, because this is when it was going to be taking place. But since it's not, all these companies still want to get their announcements out. So it's a lot to catch up on. So we talked about some today. We'll talk about more tomorrow. We also have John Velasco, our smart home editor, is going to talk about all of the latest in smart home technology. And I want to remind everybody that we're live here every day, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, every weekday. I don't come in on weekends, but 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. And I want to thank everybody for joining us here on Digital Trends Live. So for Digital Trends, I'm Greg Miller. I'll see you right back here tomorrow.